First of all, if you just introduce yourself, who are you, what's the film, what's your connection to it? Just pass it along.
Hello, I'm Dimitris, I made The Living Dots.
Hello, I'm Neil, I directed Chimera.
Hello, I'm Julie, I produced Chimera.
Hi, I'm Daniel, I'm the DOP of Chimera as well.
I'm Alex and I directed Honey.
Oh, wonderful, thank you very much. So yeah, let's kind of start with that then for all of you. What, you know, the inspiration behind these stories, where did it come from? And is there something personal in it?
Not really personal, I just love horror films that push the boundaries. Thrillers that, well, I think a lot of horror films recently just like hold back a little bit. I just wanted to make a film that made the audience sit back in their seats and feel really awkward.
I think you did that. I think you succeeded. Let's pass it on.
I think, I mean, for me, a big inspiration was the sort of period. I wanted to make a sort of 70s set movie and that kind of thriller, horror kind of feel to it. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything really, apart from the era, anything super personal to me about that. But I do love those kind of old-fashioned kind of thriller, horror kind of movies.
Yeah.
Feel free to stop me if I talk too much. So yeah, it comes from a feeling, you know. This film is more about like this feeling of betrayal and toxicity in a relationship. It's not about just romantic relationship. It'd be like with a job, for example. You know, you're all artists, filmmakers. You probably all of you have to work some day job, kind of betray your dream, put it on hold. And it's always there in the back, you know, in the back of your mind. If you fail, if your film doesn't work, if you don't get financed, you might have to. You're gonna have to go back there. You know, there's two points of view. There's the doll man, the guy that comes back to life. He's alive for a brief moment, escapes the doll, you know, goes back to kind of escape, but she always comes back. She takes the ribbon back, and he always has to go back and like pretend that thing. And there's the other point of view of the person who like tries to make it work. And because it doesn't, fundamentally it starts looking more and more like a monster as it proceeds. So, yeah, that's kind of the inspiration behind it, I'd say.
I think one of the other things that really stands out with nearly all of those films this evening as well is the sound design on them. You know, I think it's true for all of you that are here. It plays a real integral part to what's going on. So I remember for Living Dolls, the moment where it's crawling along the floor towards the screen and all of that. How difficult is that process? You know, as a creative, we often can come up with stories, but those sort of real nuances, how much of that can come from you, how much of it for your films does come from you, and how much of that do you have to rely on that collaboration with another artist or another creative, especially with the sound design, to bring these things to life?
Well, I'd say it's like all collaboration, I'd say. Obviously, it does have to come from you a bit, but, you know, when you're alone, editing for hours and hours and hours, you get kind of, you know, desensitized into it. You don't feel scared anymore, you just follow getting it right. So that's where it comes in, you know, you get your sound designer, you get your composer, they all tell you how they feel. Different people, you know, to see them react, someone who's never seen it before, and get like this kind of raw, like, reaction. So yeah, I'd say it's 100% a collaboration.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge collaboration. I mean, I'm obsessed with sound design. Sound design is my favourite part of the whole process, to be honest. Even though I direct, I just love it when it gets to that stage. And when I'm working at it, sort of planning the shoot at script stage, sound design plays a big part, probably just as much as the visuals, in terms of sort of crafting the story. I just think it's also the one area that there's so much scope to do things in that haven't been done. You know, visually pretty much everything's been done, but sound design is just a huge open sort of playing field to sort of just explore, really. So I think it's great.
Yeah, very much so. Like, we are very close collaborators, like all of us, and David Lemon, our writer, and it was almost as if we kind of gave the sound design its own script, didn't we? Do you know what I mean? So it was like, it was really, really important, and because, of course, we are heavily influenced by the 70s, but it was never, that was the era that we were going for, but not a specific year. That's kind of up for interpretation, yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
Well, yeah, sounds obviously it's very important, and I always pick up on it on different films and things like that. And with this one, I wanted to mess with like frequencies and try and make the audience feel a bit dizzy whilst everything was going on. So we use this similar sort of frequency that like an earthquake gives. And then obviously I was very inspired by like Scream and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so I wanted to amalgamate all of those into like one scene basically. And luckily I found a really good sound designer, it's called Andrew Layfield, who basically nailed every aspect of it. So yeah, it wasn't.
I think the other thing that always stands out with kind of the more dark material as well, from an audience's perspective, is the performances that you get, which are wonderful in all of them, everything that we've seen tonight. But you're putting your actors in situations where they're being uber violent with each other, the sexual tension in there as well, doing some very bizarre things, or not naturalistic things that's in there as well. It's saying that kind of that dark tension and the psychology that you've got in there. You want to be portraying, at least on screen, some very dark areas of the human mind and human nature. And how do you help your actors kind of cope with that? Do your actors need anything special to get them through, or, as I know certainly with some people, the actors actually really enjoy it and they have a lot of fun, and so that darkness that you see on screen is nothing like what it is actually like behind the scenes?
Yeah, it's a weird. Well, with our two lead actors, we let them spend a lot of time with each other and get used to each other. We booked an apartment like the night before where they just hung out and went for a walk and everything. We just got really used to each other. And I always like to give the actors their own freedom to like play with it and just get themselves in the role. And I think Ellie and Leo really grasped that with this film. So yeah, that's it really. Just let them have fun with it and play with it. So that give them a little bit of direction to start with, and then just let it flow. It's nice.
Well, our two fabulous actors, but Andy, who plays our lead, who plays Dr. Forbes, him and me go back years and years from when I first started off as an actress. So I talked to Neil about him, didn't I? And it was really a no-brainer, wasn't it really, and that's how he came about, and I talked to him, sent him the script, and we had a good yabba, and then you had a good yabba with him, didn't you? And then Charlene?
So Charlene, so Andrew came through Julie. I didn't know Andrew before this, and it was great working with him because he was brilliant and he was so collaborative. And Charlene came through another actor that I know, who and I'd met her before, but I'd not worked with her, but I'd seen her stuff. And I think it's just really, it's like what you said. It's the weird thing with horror films is they're always the most jovial sets, and generally I find whenever I meet horror filmmakers, they're generally the nicest people, which is kind of strange. But no, I think just sort of certainly as a director, just helping them to sort of get into the space they need to understand the character, and and I think the only other thing I would say is I talked to Andrew a lot about the fact that whenever you're playing like a villain, you want to find something in there that you can kind of hang on to, some kind of sort of humanity. So even though he's the bad guy, in his eyes he thinks everything he's doing is right. So it's kind of coming at it from that angle, I think is useful as well for the collaboration.
So super important, obviously. Horror films, they're very emotional films, right? Horror is like being scared, it's a feeling itself. If you don't get someone that can get that out there, so that it's very tough. You really, really rely on them. Like with our movie, we had to do a lot because it's very, it's not like you can explain to someone, oh yeah, you're a doll and you come into life. You have to get someone who kind of gets it, can put their own input into it. And we did most of the work before we even got to set. We did live session line on Zoom, all these things. And by the time we got there, it was we could get going. But yeah, it was very, very important.
Tell me a little bit about the visual style for each of them. Because you clearly each had a vision for how you wanted these to look. But did that throw up any particular challenges once it came to the actual execution of it to get them right, to get it to the way that you actually wanted them to look? Because all three of you have got very, very distinct visual styles. lift the veil on that for us a little bit. Any challenges that threw up? What was the process?
So for me, it's interesting because again, with horror or any sort of emotion, I don't want to take away a lot of it. Like our film was already a bit out there. I didn't want the visuals to be too crazy. It was a bit like just have this stable shot, let them do the thing, let it happen, let the person feel it, let them take their time with it, because we're already asking a bit too much. But yeah, you had to work. We had obviously with all sorts of movies around our limitations. Work with what we have, improvise, do a lot of things on the go. When we go to the studio. But yeah, it was definitely very obviously storyboarded everything to make sure it works. A lot of experimentation. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to let Dan speak about this a bit as well, because obviously Dan was our cinematographer, and I mean, I was very lucky that I got to collaborate with him, and we had a lot of really interesting conversations about it in pre-production, in terms of certainly making that creating that 70s aesthetic, and the use of colour, which was very kind of Dario Argento kind of inspired, and even down to the choice of lenses, like we used 1960s Russian lenses just to help give it that kind of old, kind of vintage kind of feel for it. But we did. I mean, we weren't originally going to shoot in that space, and we were shooting in a very different space than we ended up in. And I think that posed a big challenge for the cinematography, certainly. So I'll let Dan talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So the space that we shot in was kind of maybe about half this sort of little bit of the theatre, and it was a little blackout theatre, and it was quite a challenge to kind of be able to create those shapes with the lights that we created, because basically we had no set and we were creating the set with the lights. So that's part of the challenges that I think we overcame really well. And also, like Neil was talking about the Russian glass as well, it wasn't rehoused, it was still in its sort of semi-modified state, so that was kind of, that created some challenges with the focus pulling and stuff as well. But yeah, it worked out really well. We got those flares in there as well that were really beautiful, and it just kind of, it gave everything that kind of timeless /70s style that we were going for. So
were all those flares natural?
Yeah, everything was in camera.
Yeah.
I've been a photographer for over 15 years, and I've just developed a style that I think is unique to myself. So when I've got into filmmaking, always have a chat with the DOPs and the colourists and stuff to try and replicate that style that I built with photography. And so I've always been obsessed with 70s movies, and just trying to bring that sort of element to it as well. Always trying to use unique lenses. This time we couldn't. Actually used a really modern, really small anamorphic lens, which was almost impossible to focus under the circumstances that we were under, but I think we pulled it off. And yeah, that was it.
I'm going to pass it over to the audience now, and let's see if they've got any questions up there. If you've got any questions, please just pop your hand up and I'll cover up them. There we go, straight up, look at that. There you go.
My question is for the Chimera team. One thing I really loved about it was the kind of anachronistic nature of, like you mentioned, the really 70s vibe, especially Dr. Forbes' costume, the old tape recorder, but also the more modern aspects of Alice's costume and the very modern security camera outside. It really added to the sense of disorientation that Alice gave, and really placed me in that as well. And I was wondering whether you guys have any insights on how to navigate the challenges of maintaining that sense of disorientation and mystery while also giving the audience enough to kind of figure stuff out.
Okay. That's a really good question. I mean, it was very heavily influenced by 1970s sort of aesthetic, but there were some aspects with it. I mean, I talked a lot to David, our writer, about this. I was always really keen on the idea of it being sort of timeless in the sense that it had a kind of 70s feel, but you could never quite place it. It could be any time, and even the visual design kind of lent into that, the idea that it was just kind of a void. Certainly for this anyway. And that, in terms of navigating that, I think it was just a lot of that was just sort of gut instinct, to be honest, with the sort of both from the visual side of it and also from working with David. It wasn't sort of setting very specific rules about what would sort of fit the period and the era and what wouldn't. It was just sort of like feeling a way through it. But it's part of the disorientation for sure. Yeah.
Anybody else? Yep.
So, question for Dimitris. I wanted to ask what kind of directors you were influenced by in your filmmaking in general, I suppose, but specifically with Living Dogs.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, David Lynch, I'd say, obviously, one of the big ones, right? Greenberg. I don't know if it comes through the movie. I like Lars von Trier a lot, so that's always in the back of my head. And what else? There's this film, there's this director called Antonia Bertz. He's done a film called Ravenous. I don't know if you've seen it. I always have that in the back of my head as well when I'm thinking of like, that's kind of that odd part, but I think those would be the main ones for that. And I guess a tiny bit of The Signing, in terms of aesthetics and kind of pacing, I'd say.
I thought there was a bit of a Goddard type feel to it.
Oh, Goddard?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. No, I see it now.
Yeah.
Good.
Smart points. Can take one more, I think. Anybody else?
Question for Alex. How did the film evolve from your initial idea to the final piece?
How did it evolve? Do you know what, I was working with the actress Ellie on a fashion shoot, and it was a weird one. She just, at the end of the thing, she knew I was looking to cast for this film, and she just said, "I can cry in it," and then just literally on the spot, she just started crying, and it was amazing. And she looked like a psychopath. I thought, like, do you know what, you're perfect for this film. So I had this little brief idea, and then after that fashion shoot, I just literally went home, wrote it. And then within a month we had it all filmed and ready to go. So yeah, it was all, she was the inspiration for that actress, for that character.
Wonderful, thank you very much for your questions, everybody. I've just got I'm thinking two more, I think, from me before we wrap things up. I think it's safe to say we all thoroughly enjoyed these guys' films, right? Yeah, I know I certainly know the judges certainly did as well. So I think for everybody's benefit in the room, we need to know what's next. What can we expect from each of you? What's coming?
We're currently very close to finishing off the feature script, which should go into production, I think, early March next year. So it's similar to Honey. It's based on the same family, but it's a lot more like developed. So, yeah.
It's a good question. There's probably about 5 or 6 things that are sort of moving through post for me right now, and a couple of things that have just been shot. One of the bigger things is Reputation, a feature that's just been released, starring James Nelson Joyce, which is fun, so yeah, keep an eye out for that.
Yes, I'm producing a feature at the moment with Candle and Bell, so they're a North East production company. Director Alex Barrett, who Neil also knows. We've also got our feature-length script ready. It's not called Chimera, it's called something else, and we've just started having meetings about that. So yes, that's all quite positive. And I'm doing a play next month in London. And a few other things.
Yeah, we've obviously got the feature version of Chimera, which has a different name, which, yeah, we've just started meetings on, which is really exciting. I've shot a feature film in May, which I'm in post-production on at the moment, so that's sort of going on at the same time. But yeah, what's sort of on at the moment?
Yeah, writing a few things, and one short film that I hope will be next. A bit more crazy, hopefully.
Good. Well, I hope we get to show it off here a bit more crazy. I hope we get to show it to more of our audiences here. Let's just wrap up with any filmmakers out there who might be looking at making their first darker sort of themed movie. Maybe it's a horror, maybe it's a darker thriller. They're just starting in the industry. They're just trying to get their first or second little short off the ground. If you could give them one piece of advice, just 1 or 2 sentences, what would it be?
I don't know. I think it's like a, when you get started, it's like a very double-edged sword, right? Because the main advice for me is that nobody cares. That's what I would say. In the sense that, like, you can make mistakes. Like, nobody has expectations. You can go for exactly what you want, Don't think about what the audience wants, what's in fashion right now, what's sewing right now, what's successful right now, Nobody knows who you are. Nobody's expecting this. So you can really, really go for what you want to make, what you want to see. So I think as long as you're true to yourself, and finally, like, it's like, let's say you write a comedy. You wouldn't write something you don't think is funny yourself. You need to find that space where you feel like that emotion is captured, and just, chase that. No pressure.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, just being true to yourself. I would say also just surround yourself with people that you love to work with. Surround yourself with good people that you can collaborate with, because the process is more important than the destination. So I think that's really key.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. Once you find your tribe, you kind of like, you know who your tribe are. You have each other's backs. In this industry, you will unfortunately probably work with, we've touched on this before, didn't we, today? Some absolute, toxic, narcissistic assholes, but hold on tight, because you will find your tribe. And, when you do, as you say, surround yourself with those kind of people, and you've got each other's backs, similar visions, and enjoy as well, laugh and, enjoy, and but do proper, keep it light sometimes.
Yeah, it's a bit of a cliche, but just go out there and shoot it. I've seen so many people wait for perfection and rewrite a script into oblivion, and it kind of sucks the soul out of it. I've read somewhere it's first draft, then draft 30, and it's a completely different film. Just the soul's gone out of it. So just don't wait for perfection. Just go out and make it.
I think all four of you just said exactly what I was going to say. But yeah, just go and make it and figure it out along the way. That's what I'd say. Yeah, the biggest things to try, absolutely.
Guys, you have entertained us endlessly this evening. It's been absolutely incredible. You've asked some wonderful questions, and you are really, really wonderful people as well. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you over the course of the last few days, and tonight, we've only just met you tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, our filmmakers, thank you very much.